What's the best/scariest/most interesting internet rabbit hole you have found? There's this well-known playlist on YouTube called Important Videos. It has about 300 videos that are mostly short and stupidly funny. The Missing Germans. I read this all in one marathon session well into the wee hours. Essentially, it's about a German family of 4 that were vacationing in the US and disappeared in Death Valley. A search and rescue guy hears about it and decides to try to solve the mystery. This was an amazing read. Got completely hooked on the story the last time this was posted. The guy explained the searches so well it almost felt like you were there. Would make an awesome novel turned into a mediocre movie. The Editing Room. They adjust movies' scripts, highlighting plot holes and bad acting. How they break down and mock the stories is especially interesting if you have already seen the movie. They usually notice much more than a casual moviegoer sees. Edit. Since the site appears to have been hugged to death by Reddit, you can check the Google cache by searching the Editing Room plus your movie. Hear the fandom menace. Thanks for the promotion. Also, thanks for killing the site. I'm working to restore the site. I was completely not ready for a front page subreddit to have a top comment mentioning it. Edit. Okay, I think it's up now? Fingers crossed? Thanks for your website. So many laughs these years. Sorry for the Reddit's accidental DDoS. Keep up the good work. Therese, this series on YouTube called the Marble Olympics. I'm on mobile so I'll link it later, but this guy basically made different events and puts teams of marbles through them and color commentates. The production value isn't bad considering what it is, and you will start rooting for a team. Here is his channel. He actually is fixing to start uploading the Marble Olympics 2018. His sand rally races are very easy to get hooked on. Is fixing to hello fellow Southerner. Louisiana born and raised. Wikipedia's page on uncontacted tribes. It's fascinating to read about first encounters, how everyone reacts, the ultimate outcome. Every linked page about specific tribes is like its own mini-drama. n.wikipedia.org. This forum, which is dedicated to baiting the Nigerian prince email scammers, 419eater.com. Guy convinces scammer to get a tattoo, 419eater.com. Exceptional. I was on Tinder looking at some hilarious comebacks and putdowns. One of the top posts was a profile someone had posted of a young lady in a wheelchair that had a wicked sense of humor around her situation. Well, turns out she was a Redditor, and appeared in the comments section, chatting and joking away with other Redditors about her profile. I went deeper and came across her story, which she'd posted to Imgur, possibly NSFW hospital images. So from having a light-hearted chuckle at some funny Tinder chat, to going to bed deeply affected by one of the most tragic, creepy, strange and yet uplifting human stories I've ever read was a pretty strange left turn. If you're still on here, a life proof by honest woman, you rock. I might be, lol, thank you. I found out I had a stalker from high school when I was in community college and decided to Google my name for some dumb reason. I don't have a very common last name, but there are still a few other people out there with my first and last name. I was like 10 pages deep in Google, place many do not ever go to, and I found an old tripod site that had my name in the URL followed by one of my old AIM screen names. So I clicked it and was taken to a very basic page that had a ton of pictures stolen from my MySpace and others that had to have been taken without me knowing, things like me out working on my car or on the trampoline with my siblings in our yard. It was really weird and I had no clue who it was until I scrolled all the way down and realized it was the girl I dated for a few months in spring of our sophomore year. She had a screenshot of a AIM conversation where I said I liked you way more than others or something on it, and she took that and ran with it. What happened? Did you report her? Confront her? I hope not, but college kids can be dumb sometimes. I need a resolution to this story. Well, this was like 07 and sophomore year was 03 to 04, so I had to dig through Facebook to find her, and when I did she was a few states away and in a relationship, so I never bothered her about it, and I'm sure that it has been taken down now that tripod is gone defunct. I once had my home Linux server hacked while I was away on winter holiday. Logging in remotely from my grandparents' house, I noticed that the server was behaving oddly, took a look at the log files and found them truncated, so sent a shutdown command so I could do forensics when I got home. What I ended up finding really did feel like swallowing the red pill. Someone had hacked the server using a recent SendMail exploit and resold it to someone who was using it to host an egg drop ERC bot. I logged into the IRC channel that it had been holding open and found a bunch of people sending short messages like CCS or root. About 5 minutes and a longer message comes along. Some guy is annoyed with a trade he has made, someone gave him a bad set of data and he wants to make his own data worthless in return before the buyer can get full use of it. So on my screen there is suddenly a splat of information about some guy who lives in Texas, credit card, phone number, street address, and the first guy is urging everyone to buy stuff as quickly as possible before the credit limit is hit. Feeling I was ducked, I disconnected ASAP, left an anonymous phone message on said Texas individual's answering machine advising them to check their Visa charges, and hoped that my lack of foresight in not setting up an IP proxy or anything to hide my own identity wouldn't have either the FBI or organized crime breathing down my neck in a few days. Damn, makes me feel really computer illiterate reading this. For some reason, I find the poles of inaccessibility super fascinating. A pole of inaccessibility marks a location that is the most challenging to reach owing to its remoteness from geographical features that could provide access. For example, Point Nemo, the oceanic pole of inaccessibility, is so remote that if you were there and the International Space Station flew over you in orbit, you would be closer to it than to any land on Earth. Edit, I realized that the ISS's orbit is only 205 to 270 miles above Earth. My main point was that it's still pretty crazy to me that if you were here, you'd potentially be closer to an astronaut than to anyone on land. To put it in another perspective, you'd be a little more than one Pluto away from the nearest land. Pluto's diameter is 1,475 miles, the nearest land from Point Nemo is 1,670 miles. Serial killers on Wikipedia. I've read the list of unusual deaths, n.wikipedia.org, an embarrassing number of times. My favorite one is the guy that died laughing watching a donkey eat figs. 1871, Clement Vallandigham, a lawyer and Ohio politician defending a man accused of murder, accidentally shot himself while demonstrating how the victim might have accidentally shot himself. His client was cleared. That shows real dedication to his work as a lawyer. Oh man, number stations are incredibly creepy to me. Fascinating but creepy as hell. A number station is a shortwave radio station characterized by broadcasts of formatted numbers, which are believed to be addressed to intelligence officers operating in foreign countries. Source edit. Me Calculator posted a comment as someone who worked on a number station, thought I'd add it in here. Person from nowhere also shared a story their dad told them about hearing a number station from the USSR when he was in the military. Farlandon shared a story told to him by his CIA father who ran a number station. Supalox is part of a group that tracks active number stations. You can find out more info on their website. Turner Sharkbitten shared how they stumbled onto a number station while stationed in Miami and his commander pulled him aside the next day. SCP Foundation is pretty great. Yep, I've been stuck there for 5 years now. Damn, what did you do to get in that position? Must be horrible living in an SCP facility. He's D-Class. Don't talk to him. D-Class are terminated at the end of the month unless he is Bright's vessel or the friend caretaker of one of the child SCPs. Of which only Bright would have access to the external intranet so. Good morning, Dr. Bright. Edit from the SCP personnel page, emphasis Mind Class D. Class D personnel are expendable personnel used to handle extremely hazardous anomalies and are not allowed to come into contact with Class A or Class B personnel. Class D personnel are typically drawn worldwide from the ranks of prison inmates convicted of violent crimes, especially those on death row. In times of duress, Protocol 12 may be enacted, which allows recruitment from other sources such as political prisoners, refugee populations, and other civilian sources that can be transferred into Foundation custody under plausibly deniable circumstances. Class D personnel are to be given regular mandatory psychiatric evaluations and are to be administered an amnestic of at least Class B strength or terminated at the end of the month at the discretion of on-site security or medical staff. In the event of a catastrophic site event, Class D personnel are to be terminated immediately except as deemed necessary by on-site security personnel. It depends on the SCP, but most that require D-Class mention termination, not amnestics. D-Class can be excused from termination if they're good at eating cake that will consume the world. Rilsagate. I first heard about this the other day through an article in a newspaper and thread on World News about it, and I still cannot wrap my head around this. These videos are so weird, like some real-life creepypasta shit. I think what makes it so disturbing is that nobody can discern a good reason for the videos to exist in the first place. The ad revenue thing makes sense, but you could achieve that with a wide range of content that doesn't involve such ducking weird themes. Kids aren't enticed by the inappropriate titles or scenes, they click because it's cartoon characters with bright colors. So why the fuck are all these videos full of scat, gore and weird fetish stuff?